Hello, happy Monday. I wanted to get a video, guys, out to you, um, but just to let you know of what's going on this week, there's a couple of things that you need to know in terms of what I sent out. Also, last week I had sent out a couple of videos that Nikki, the librarian here at Lake Area, put out, and those videos are really going to help you if you didn't already notice with your annotated bibliographies, but also they're going to help you with your outlines and thinking about what types of sources that you're going to want to integrate into your paper and how you can integrate some of those arguments. And that outline assignment will be coming up this week on Sunday. So just make sure, if you haven't already, to watch those two videos that I sent out late in the week last week so that you are aware of how to search the databases and what information to find or how to find that information within the actual databases themselves. I'm scrolling down here and we're looking at week 13's plagiarism, reviewing plagiarism week. We're focusing on plagiarism this week just because there have been some issues in class, and I wanted to make sure that you guys were all aware of exactly what plagiarism is. So I'm going to have you guys reread this Avoiding Plagiarism, this short bit right here from 389 to 392 in your Steps to Writing Well PDF. And also, I'm going to have you read an article. It's titled An English Teacher's View of the Trump Plagiarism Issue. Now, I want you guys to be aware that this is not my writing, this is not my view, but this is another English teacher's view of the plagiarism issue that Trump was dealing with at the beginning of his candidacy when he first started to I guess, began running for president. It kind of provides a little bit of an interesting, real world scenario on what happens when people plagiarize and some of the pushback that they might get for some of those issues, and how that plagiarism issue actually kind of, I guess, what happens when someone does plagiarize in the real world. It gives some of that feedback. So that's kind of an interesting article to read, dealing with plagiarism and how it's happening in real time, right? And then there will be a plagiarism forum. So if you click on this forum here, I'm going to show you. There are a couple of questions that I want you guys to be thinking about. So first of all, you'll obviously respond to 100 words of your initial reaction, and then 50 to your peers. And how you do this is really up to you. You guys have been doing a really great job actually in the forums. I just finished reading some of those forum responses today, and I had a really good time. I really like a lot of your responses. You guys are thinking about the right things. You guys are arguing the right points. So you guys, it really seems like you're getting a lot out of these readings, and you're seeing how these arguments can be formed, and also how some of these arguments might not be formed as well. Or, for example, in the Obligation to Endure forum, I did this on purpose. I gave you a pretty outdated article about pesticides and farming, and some of you caught this and some of you did not. But what happens when the information's outdated? Is it as reliable? Can we trust that article as an authority on the topic? And the answer to that is a resounding no. So just make sure that you are looking at those dates in all of the research that you're doing, and really thinking about when the information was put out and who put it out. That will also help you to kind of figure out the importance of some of those articles. But in the actual plagiarizing forum, which is where we're at now on the screen, I have included this information here. What's so wrong with plagiarizing? And in a nutshell, plagiarism is illegal, right? It is stealing somebody else's work and claiming it's your own. So I've included a few bullet points that you guys can work from what's going on with plagiarism and why is it such a problem. Plagiarism is an issue outside of the academic community. So what are some of the moral implications of plagiarizing materials or other people's work? Do you agree with the article's thesis? Now, I don't want you guys to focus so much on the issues that we're seeing in the political sphere with Trump. What I want you guys to think about is what it is that this plagiarism issue actually does to any political figure, to any figure in the community who might be plagiarizing. How does that change the views that people might have of those individuals? But even more than that, why is it that it is such a big deal that we aren't plagiarizing and we are citing things correctly, besides the fact that it's illegal, right? Like, So really think about some of those moral implications, and I feel like that should provide a pretty interesting conversation. You can obviously look at some of the other prompt questions and answer some of those, but this one is going to be worth 20 points. So make sure that you are paying attention to it, not forgetting about it. That is due on Wednesday. So I'm going to go back to coursework and let's see here. We also have this article, which is in a PDF form, so you don't have to actually click on the article link. It'll be in the PDFs under resources. Does the internet make you smarter or dumber? This one a lot of students get really fired up about. It's kind of a fun article because we are so in tune with the internet and getting that instant information. So thinking about some of the implications of that will be what we're dealing with in terms of the forum itself. This one's only worth 10 points, but you have some of those sample questions, and as you've been doing, same thing, take some of the text from the reading and expand upon it, argue about it, figure out if you believe it or not. Is it realistic? Are they arguing it well? What is it that maybe compels you to agree with the argument, and what is it that compels you to maybe not buy into it as much? I'm going to go back to coursework here and show you. Also, you need to be reading the RBA Sketch 3 assignment, which is in resources. We're going to open that up, and I'm going to talk to you guys about it a little bit, because this is a little bit of a different assignment than what we are used to. Oh, and it's unfortunately under week 11. I will try to remember to change that, because that was the beginning week that we did the RBA assignment. So for this sketch, let's wait for it just a second to open. What I expect you guys to do is you must include your working thesis at the top of your outline. Even if it's not perfect, do your very best to kind of figure out what it is that you're trying to actually argue here. And then I want roughed out topic sentences, so these should be full sentences, and at least one integrated source, an explanation, and the so what factor per body paragraph. What I've been noticing in many of your papers is that you will drop in a quote and then not tell the reader why it is that you're using it or what it is that is so important about using this quote. And if you do this, what happens is the reader gets confused, because we need more context, we need more information. What do you want the reader to take out of that quote? How are you interpreting the quote? And why is it significant to your topic? So make sure that you're thinking about that. As far as, what I'm expecting out of this outline, I do expect you to think critically and logically. So you need to be going in order in terms of your argument. Is it logical, and does it make sense in the order that you've placed it? This will be anywhere from 250 to 350 words, and that will be due on Sunday night at 11:59 or around midnight, right, on Turnitin.com. Couple of reminders. Remember, this thesis statement should cover all of your topics within your outline or be related. So the thesis statement should reflect the topic sentences. The topic sentences need to reflect back on the thesis. It should be very clear why it is that you've picked a certain topic sentence and how it relates back to the thesis. If the reader has to guess, likely it's not very clear. So you want to be sure that you are, making those connections for the reader. That's part of the reason why we have, essays formatted the way we do, is that working thesis should have an essay map, and that essay map should be clear in all of those topic sentences. So also be sure to write in full sentences for the thesis, the topic sentences, and supporting evidence. You do need to integrate your sources with a signal phrase and a parenthetical citation. So according to the article titled, put the title in quotation marks, or according to author Jim Jones, or the author Jim Jones states, or expert in the field Nancy Reagan exclaims, or whatever. You have to have that signal phrase that's introducing the quote the first time you use it, and the first time you do use that quote or you do use that source, you need to be introducing either with A, the title, or with B, the author, so that we know where it's coming from. After you've introduced the source the first time, it's not as big of a deal to continue to introduce it that way, but at least the first time you need to let the reader know where that information is coming from. And signal phrases need to be with every single time you use material from that is not your own. You need to be somehow introducing it, whether or not you're actually talking about the title and the author. That will be dependent on what time or how many times you've used it in the past. So if you have questions about that, definitely shoot me an email. But then you will need to include an explanation. And when I ask for this explanation, the explanation means that you need to basically explain to the reader why it is that you're using that information. How do you want us to interpret that quote? What is your interpretation of the quote? And then the so what, or the significance of this quote, right here, will relate back to the thesis. Why is this significant to your topic? Why does it matter to your thesis? What does it prove? So I've given you a sample outline, and this sample outlines on obesity and government intervention. This is not my outline. This is a student example, so be aware that there are a few errors in it. But for example, we have a working thesis that is an individual's weight should be a governmental concern because of the medical costs associated with weight-related issues, costs taxpayer money, retailers of unhealthy food need to be regulated, and children need to have better options for diet and exercise made available to them. This is a very specific thesis statement, and all of your thesis statements should look as specific as this one is. So body paragraph 1 is dealing with the medical cost and taxes, and we see that here in the thesis statement we have costs and taxes. Then here we have supporting evidence. This is taken directly from a quote. Now you'll notice that the student did not include a signal phrase, which would be grounds for me to dock points, right? So make sure that you are including those signal phrases so that we know where this information is coming from. They did include the parenthetical citations, so they did do that part right, but remember, this is kind of just dropped in, so we're not really sure what's going on with this quote. Then they give an explanation of the quote in terms of what it's actually saying, and then we have the so what. What does this quote actually support, or does it support your claim, your thesis specifically, and how does it do that? And you'll see that for the rest of these. I'm not going to walk you through them because you guys, you guys know how to read, and you guys can see how these examples are working, but just make sure to note that this student did not include a signal phrase, so that is problematic, and you will need to be doing that. So that is the assignment that you guys will be working with for Sunday. And hopefully also that you guys were able to access under resources the library sheet 1, which is the passwords to all the Lake Area databases, and 2, which is how to search for those resources. So if you have found that some of your resources don't actually work for this outline, when you start actually integrating it into a coherent argument, you'll be able to go back and get some more sources. Remember, you need 6 scholarly, and you can have 2 non-scholarly, or you can do all 8 scholarly. It doesn't really matter to me as long as there are those 6 scholarly and 8 total. If you have any questions for me, feel free to let me know. I have emailed a few of you on your topic proposals. Make sure you're getting back to me on those. And we will talk to you all next week. Thanks so much.